My name is Claudia Rubio Sasaki, and I am one of the co-directors of On Your Face. On Your Face is a social enterprise that aims to basically bring visibility to the LGBTQ plus creatives of Wales. So we want to do this through creating queer cultural events, especially in the rural areas that are a lot more deprived of these queer spaces as opposed to the big cities. We also are creating an online directory of anything queer happening in Wales. And so we want all the artists of Wales that are queer to register with us so we can have this huge platform to showcase them. One of our main things is to get paid jobs for the artists. So we advocate for them to always get paid. And yeah, we want to just create a community because we feel like that's very lacking at the moment, or it has been. And yeah, people are responding to it amazingly, and everybody is lacking these sort of spaces.
Hi, I'm Africa Oye, and I'm the founder and one of the directors of On Your Face Collective. Well, it all started with this need of how do I find other queer people, and you see them on the street, you kind of imagine, you're like, oh, I think you're queer, but you cannot go to somebody like, can we connect, can we be friends? So I had this growing in my mind, like, how do I connect to people? And like, I went once to what is now Elysium Bar, which we are now doing an event tonight. And it was back then queer pop, and I was so excited, finally could go out after having a kid, and it was the closing party, and I was just like, why? Why this happened to me? And there was nothing else, so I was like, I must do something. And as an artist, I knew that the best way to connect with people is through art or through something that you can talk about, something you have in common. So the original idea was a physical space in Swansea, but then pandemic happened, so then that was off the cards. And we're like, okay, then we have to do something where we can connect online. And we just thinking, and then I thought, well, if it's online, it doesn't have to be Swansea, because it can be everywhere. And then I thought, wouldn't it be wonderful if we had all the artists of Wales just connecting to each other? And that's how it all started. So we started with the directory, and I remember when we started in this project, it was 16 artists, and now we're like 42, and I have 3 lingering that I need to put into the database. And that's about it, I guess. It was just this need of connecting, yeah.
Hi, I'm Fox Irving. I'm an artist and producer, and for this project I became a curator, which is really exciting. My practice is that I tend to work with groups, work with collectives, and work with them together to produce artworks or pieces of protest or activism. I'm really thinking about how I can work with groups to create social change, really important to me. And I'd been working on several projects, and Glynn Vivian contacted me and said, I know you know about On Your Face Collective. It's a new collective that's starting up, and we wondered if you would like to approach the collective and do a project with them. And this was pre-pandemic, and we were thinking, as Africa was saying, about creating a space. And then pandemic happened, and we kind of couldn't create a physical space, and things moved online, and we did a series of online workshops with the collective. We asked a number of the collective who would like to partake in an exhibition, and that was the first seed idea that came to mind. Before meeting with the collective, I came to Glynn Vivian and I searched the database, and I was trying to find kind of queer histories. If I was to come into the gallery, would I be able to see? queer histories, or would I be able to identify with pieces in the gallery and think, hey, this reflects my own identity? And I searched the database for queer identities, queer phrases, and nothing came up. And it was actually the Glynn Vivian and the staff. They knew the queer narratives of many of the artists in here, but these things are not on display. So I met with the collective, and online, we first actually met in person, then we moved online, and we started to think about what, if we were going to do an exhibition for the Glynn Vivian, what would we want to think about and what would we want to respond to? And we did a series of thinking about, is it a kind of bringing out the queer narratives of artists that already belong to the collection, or as actually a way to look and reflect using the collection about our own or their own queer identities. And that's what's happened with this exhibition. Each member of the collective came together and they selected one or two pieces that they could identify with their own identity. And I guess as a curator, I was more the host. They did all the work, but I brought them together as a group. I wanted to make sure the first sessions were about getting to know each other and trust, and then the rest happened, and we started to make work responding to the collection. And it was quite nice, because usually I'm a bit anxious about doing working with group, especially in exhibition, about who has what space. And I think a nice thing about this exhibition is just everything's just come together so I couldn't have asked for it to be this perfect, and actually I see everyone's pieces kind of respond to each other, and I think that's what you get when working together, as in you respond together, you think about it, and then the themes just naturally emerge throughout the work.
Yeah, I mean, we have many meetings thinking of what's the title,
Yes.
how are we approaching this, what are the pieces chosen, how is everything gonna work, how are we all feeling?
Yes.
I felt it was all very natural, and it kind of all got us into flow and feeling and knowing what is okay and what's not okay for kind of everyone based on our conversations.
And I think it was nice, actually. It was a long project. I think September we started last year, and often when I get to do group works, we don't often have that amount of time. So we spent a lot, even though it was we did 4 sessions quite close together, and then we did once a month. We kept that connection throughout, and it kind of, we feel really close because of the length of time of the project, which is quite rare sometimes working on art projects.
I love how it grew and grew. Like, it was meant to go into this little room in the gallery, and now it's in the biggest room, and it feels like like you've taken over, a big part of it.
And it was really affirming, actually, that we were given one of the largest spaces in the Glynn Vivian, because I think at the beginning we were a bit anxious. We've been put in the smaller space, and we wanted to have a bigger, and we were already planning, if you were in the smaller space, to spill out to the rest of the gallery, but it just naturally happened. I think the Glynn Vivian saw how the work was going, and they said, actually, I think you'd work really well in this room, and it does. So yeah.
So to have diverse voices responding to a collection it's very important, because we have 2 things in here. First, we have the diverse voices, which are very important to have always, and we're still lacking. There are many collectives exploring how there's still lack of diversity in museums, like Pussy Galore or the Guerrilla Girls.
Yeah.
That's it?
Yeah.
So there's this thing called strategies of resistance, and it's used by many curators around the world. So these strategies of resistance usually consist in one, revisionism, the other one is area of studies, and the other one is relational studies. So when we are responding to a collection that has been here or that has got very old works, what we are doing is also relational studies. So what we are doing is we're decontextualizing these works. So we are giving them a different reading. We are thinking there are many works here, like I talk about the piece over there, which is the Dancing Stones. It's like, I think is it 100 years old?
Yeah, about, yeah.
So nobody would think it is queer, but then you put it in this context with all these queer artists in a queer exhibition, then we're giving it a different reading. We are saying, okay, most of the narratives over the years have been like cis, heterosexual, and white, but could there be something else in it? You know, because back then you couldn't put this is a gay artist or a lesbian or whatever. This is not a. It was not accepted. So right now, what we're doing with this exhibition, we're just putting out there these other works with contemporary artists and saying, well, let's look at it. What is in it? What's in these works that we can read? You know. So yeah. So on one side we have the relational studies, which is through these voices, what we're doing is decontextualizing and deconstructing. And then we have the area of studies, which is you pick up a group of people, in this case queer artists, and you're just giving them the space. So it's all about representation, and then how representation affects all of us and the way we're perceived, the way we see each other. So yeah, it is definitely very important, but it is also very important it just doesn't happen once. It happens again and again with different voices, and it's just not also a takeover or a responding, but also we need to make sure that this, you know, that artists with their voices are all the time in the museum and galleries and everywhere. And that's, you know, that's part of why On Your Face was created too. We want to be present. We want to be here not just for July or whatever, or Pride. We're here all year round. So yeah, definitely very important.
And it's important as well, the legacy of this project. As I've talked about a bit about kind of not being able to find queer histories or queer narratives in the Glynn Vivian database. Key legacy of this project is we will add search terms, we will add these pieces into the database, and people coming in, if they want to search for queer histories and queer narratives, it will link up to all these works, which is, I think, really important to have that kind of story here, and for people to be able to see these responses. But also I think it's really important because this all started because there wasn't queer spaces. There isn't spaces like in Swansea where queer people could go in and feel like, okay, I actually identify this. This is like who I am. You know, this is where, you know, my group, where I belong. And for me, my practice as an artist, and I think maybe with all artists, is I'm happy if just one person comes and looks at a piece of work and feels like I belong with this piece of work or I identify with it. My job is done if one person does that. If more people do that, that's amazing. And what's been important about this space, it's not a stagnant space. We are here for a while, but we want to make sure we have workshops going on, writing workshops, we're going to have a panel, we're going to have film night, and we're linking it in with On Your Face collective events, and hopefully we'll get more members for the collective, but that we're here and we're not going away, we're not just going to finish in September, as Africa said, we're here, our On Your Face collective will be here.
Okay, so any artist that's queer that wants to get involved with the collective, all they have to do is go to our website, check out the apply section. It's a pretty straightforward process. Or as well as any queer-led businesses, any queer initiatives or projects, we have a space for them in our website. If anybody wants to join the collective as a member or a director, there's also space for that. They can get in touch with us and we'll have a chat. And what's next for On Your Face? There's a lot that we're looking forward to. I mean, we want to expand to North Wales and, well, all Wales in reality. So far we've done Carmarthenshire and Swansea. But we want to find all these areas where queers are needed, where queer art is needed, where spaces are needed, where people don't find community. And we also want to really connect with more artists. We want to connect with more initiatives, like you were mentioning. We just want to connect all these people and create things. And this, I guess, it will show in our directory, which we want to grow.
It will show in more events. What we're hoping is regular events all over Wales, festivals, workshops.
Yeah, all sorts. We also want to work with more galleries and museums in the future to do similar projects where the queer artists can be in the spotlight. Oh, we'll also be having a mentorship.
A mentorship program,
Wow.
yes. Yeah, some artists might feel a bit daunting to join if they're in university or they're just recently graduated, and they might be like, well, maybe it's just a bit too early for me to join this, you know. Or artists who, who might be studying and are not quite ready, they can join, and then we will create like what's it called?
We'll pair them up
with another artist. We're looking into groups, creating groups online. So in a few months, then they can join fully with everything in place, like artist statements and things like that, anything they need. And then they also feel more supported, and it's more of a transition rather than just being thrown into this and being offered all these opportunities. It's more